Hi, welcome back to Kalike, and in this session we are going to take up some more numericals on Coulomb law which are quite different from that we took in the previous session. In this session we'll focus more on the numericals that are already solved in your textbook. So when you open the chapter there are some numericals. I found these pretty interesting from the conceptual point of view. So these are something that we have not done prior. So we'll explore these, understand these. These are already solved in the textbook, but some of you might not understand the concept behind it. So I feel it is essential to understand, solve them, because you might end up getting these kind of numericals in your entrance examinations. So let's get started. So the numerical is example number 14 in your textbook. If a charged metallic sphere A is so there is a charged metallic sphere A. Okay, so you see the diagram is also given in the textbook. This is the charged metallic sphere. You can see there are 4 charges. For simplicity, they have only given 4 charges for you to understand. So there is a charged metallic sphere A which is suspended by a nylon thread. Okay, and another charged metallic sphere B which is held by an insulating handle. You can see there are 2 charges. They are separated by a distance of about 10 centimeter. Okay, now they are brought close to each other both, but their centers are separated by a distance of about 10 centimeter. Now what happens in the other scenario? Spheres A and B are now touched by uncharged spheres. So these spheres were uncharged initially. This was the sphere C and this was the sphere D. Initially they're almost all of them are same in size. The size doesn't matter compared to the distance of separation between the centers, because that is how we learn about Coulomb's law. They are treated as point charges. I can't write teeny point charges or teeny tiny metallic charges. It becomes difficult to understand, hence we write it a bigger picture, but otherwise they are just point charges. So the initially were uncharged spheres C and D. So these were brought closer. Now you bring A closer to C and B closer to D. You touch them together. What happens? Obviously, there will be charge redistribution. Since there these electrons or excess protons or whatever it is, they realign, they jump from one to another. So for they get equally distributed. So it is initially if the charge on A was Q. Now the charge on A is halved, which is Q by 2. So initially if the charge on Q was Q dash, you see after touching to D, it has been halved. It has been redistributed to Q dash by 2 upon bringing it in contact with D. Also, what else are they doing? Now after doing this, they take away these metallic spheres. So they remove the metallic spheres B and D, they are taken away, but still what will be the charge on A and B? It will be Q by T and Q by 2 and Q dash by 2. Now then they are also brought closer. Now these two are brought closer by halving the distance. So initially if this was R, your new R dash is R by 2, because 10 by 2 is 5 centimeters. So this is how it has been down. Now you have to calculate or find the expected repulsion of A on the basis of Coulomb's law. Pretty simple. It is very, very simple. So initial electrostatic force of repulsion is given by K into Q dash divided by R square. So what will be your new electrostatic force of repulsion? What is the new charge on A? It is Q by 2. So let's write it as Q by 2. New charge on B is Q dash by 2, right? Whole divided by R by 2 whole square, which is the new distance. Now we need to calculate this. So this will be K into Q is Q square divided by 2 into 2 is 4. So R square by 4 whole divided by R square by 4, which goes to the numerator, which gets reversed. Denominator becomes numerator, numerator becomes denominator. This is the basic math rule. So this is 4 divided by R square, 4 and 4, sorry, this is not Q square, this is Q into Q dash. They are not equal in magnitude, I'm sorry. So Q into Q dash, 4 and 4 gets cancelled. So F dash will be K into Q dash divided by R square, which is nothing but the initial electrostatic force of repulsion. There has been no change since they are point charges. You see, nothing has been changed even after bringing them in contact. This is a conceptual numerical. There can be values also. If there are values, you can numerically prove that the electrostatic force of repulsion before touching the spheres and after removing them, touching and before touching and after touching them and then removing them, the force of repulsion remains the same. Let's take one more numerical. So here's another numerical example from your own textbook, which has been a solved example. So what does it say? It's also a very different one. It will give you a new idea of how to solve or how to approach these kind of numericals. So consider charges Q1, Q2, Q3 each equal to Q. So what is say all the charges Q1, Q2, Q3, they are all of equal magnitude, which is Q, on an equilateral triangle of side length L. Okay, so let's write an equilateral triangle. Let's write it big here, or yeah, let's utilize this space. So this is your equilateral triangle. What's an equilateral triangle? An equilateral triangle is a triangle with sides of equal length. So it has equal length and all the angles are also equal. And what is the angle equal to? Each angle is equal to 60 degree. Let's write that angle A, angle B and angle C, they are all equal to 60 degrees, and also AB, BC and AC, they are all equal to L. So that is what you mean by an equilateral triangle which has equal length and equal angles. So there are charges placed here. There is Q plus Q plus Q and plus Q. They're all positive charges. Now what are they doing? You have to figure out the force on a charge Q, okay, which has the same sign as Q, so it's a positive charge again, placed at the centroid of a triangle. So now, if your geometry is bad and if you have not read your geometry properly in high school, obviously you would not know what a centroid is. A centroid is a line that divides the median, okay, into 2:3 ratio, 2:3 ratio. So I will show you. So what's a median? Median is a perpendicular bisector. So this is a perpendicular bisector I am drawing, which bisects, and let me call this point as O. Similarly, let me draw a perpendicular bisector here. Let me also draw a perpendicular bisector here. So this point is what is called the centroid. Centroid is generally represented by the letter G. So here this point, let me call this point as I can let me call this as D, and let me call this point as O. Okay, so this centroid, where what is placed, a charge Q is placed, it has got a positive sign as all the three others. Okay, so now what does it do? A centroid divides this line, which is the perpendicular bisector, into where all, a centroid is a point where all the medians meet. Easier definition is a median or a perpendicular bisector from all the angles, they meet at a particular point, and it is what is known as centroid. Okay, now how does it divide? It divides the line. So this part of the line from the vertex till the centroid will be in the ratio 2/3, whereas this part of the line will be lesser in length, it will be 1/3. So that is how it divides. Even here it is 2/3, this will be 1/3. This length is larger compared to this length. This length will be 2/3 again, and this length will be less than that, which is 1/3. Okay, now this is what you should know. Now, what else am I supposed to know? What do I need? You have to calculate the force, right? You have to calculate the force on this. So this will experience numerous forces. Now let's see what direction force this will experience, right? Now, the charge Q will experience a repulsive force due to A because they are of similar sign in the opposite direction. So it will move away from A. Similarly, it will try to move away from B along this line, right? Similarly, they are all of equal length, so it will experience an equal repulsive force. It will also experience a repulsive force due to B, so therefore it will act in this direction, right? So it will start moving in all these directions. Now you, and to be very honest, you don't need to calculate anything, but in your textbook it's been calculated, so I'll calculate for you. But otherwise I'll just solve it conceptually. See, they are all equal. All these forces are equal in length, right? So let me draw this equal. It's a bit longer. The length of the line actually tells you the magnitude, the length of the arrow. So now use the parallelogram law of factor addition and find the resultant here. So this resultant and this resultant, they are also of equal magnitude because they all have equal charges. So since they are equal and opposite, in fact the net force acting on the charge O due to system of charges on an equilateral triangle is 0. So the net charge on the system as such is 0. It would not move away from its mate. It will not tend to move in this direction or in this direction, because these two forces, how am I drawing it? So it is, this is the repulsion it is experiencing due to the charge B. So this is your charge Q placed here. This is Q, right? It is experiencing repulsion here. It is experiencing repulsion here. This is the force it is experiencing due to the charge. Oh, sorry, here B is here, C is here, I'm sorry. So even here, this is the charge Q, it is experiencing repulsion. Similarly, you have a point A, it is experiencing repulsion in this direction. So due to your charge Q. Now, in order to find the resultant of these two forces, obviously you will use your parallelogram law of addition. So this has to be equal. Let me draw it equal length. So why is it equal? Because all the charges have equal magnitude. So since they are equal and opposite, obviously both people pulling you with the same strength on either direction, you won't move anywhere in accordance to Newton's law. So therefore they are equal and opposite and they cancel each other. So obviously the net system, the force on the system is 0 due to the system of charges is 0. But otherwise, let's find out. Okay, let's take this triangle. How it is being solved in your textbook. So this is A, this is D, this is your point O where your charge is placed, and this is B. Here is also Q, here is Q, and here is Q. Okay, now this length is, we do not know this. Okay, this length is L by 2 because it is half of, the rest is here also L by 2. Why is it L by 2? L by 2 plus L by 2 because it's half. L by 2 plus L by 2 is L. This whole length is L. L is equal to L by 2 plus L by 2. It is as simple as that, right? So therefore, if you still have a confusion, though some people will have a confusion, so this will be L plus L, which is nothing but 2L by L, 2L by 2, which is nothing but L, right? So therefore, we can directly write it as L by 2 and L by 2, and this length is L. We do not know this height. H is unknown. So let's use the Pythagoras theorem. Hypotenuse, hypotenuse square, which is L square, is equal to this adjacent square plus the perpendicular square. So L by 2 the whole square plus H square. So therefore L square minus, if I bring it on this side, L square divided by 2 square is 4 is equal to H square. Now take the LCM. If you take the LCM 4, here you don't have anything. 4 times 1 is 4. So therefore this will be 4. 4L square minus L square is equal to H. So H square. So therefore 4L square minus L square will be 3L square divided by 4. So what will be H in that case? Square root of 3L square by 4. Now L square by 4 can be written as L by 2 if you remove the root. So it is root 3 L by 2. So what is the value of H? H is basically root 3 L by 2. How did you get L by 2? Because square root of L square by 4 can be written as 2 whole square. Now root and square gets cancelled. So you get L by 2. How does it cancel? If some people still have the confusion that how root and square gets cancelled, I'll show you here. Root can be written as L square. The square root is nothing but 1 by 2. So this is also 2 square to the power 1 by 2. So 2 gets cancelled. Square root can be written as 1 by 2. So these are basic things. Some students really struggle to understand these basics, but please follow my videos for such pointers, because I'll teach the basics. I love to teach from the basics because I've seen a lot of students struggling with all this because they don't understand numbers, they don't understand mathematics. But you need to be good at mathematics in order to solve numericals. But you can always learn it if you've not learned it. You can ask more questions, learn it, and it will be easy. So we figured out how much is this value H, and that is root 3 L by 2. Why do you need this? We need this for a particular purpose, which I will explain now. Let's keep the data and then we'll find out the force everywhere. The final answer is anyhow going to be 0. We have already conceptually solved it, but then we will also find the values and say it as 0. Okay. Well, yes, I hope you figured it out. Why did we find out h? Because we need this distance. You are supposed to calculate the force, electrostatic force of repulsion due to q, right? So you needed this distance, right? So you need this distance. So in order to calculate this distance, we didn't know what this was. So we figured out that. So AD is equal to h is equal to square root of 3 into L by 2. But what is AO? AO I already told you, this will be 2/3 of the entire line. So it is 2/3 of H or 2/3 of AD. 2/3 of the entire line. That's how a centroid divides the perpendicular bisector, which is nothing but 2/3 into root 3 divided root 3 L by 2. We have substituted the value of H or AD. So how do you do this? 2 and 2 get cancelled. Root 3 and you have 3. How do you write this? This can be rewritten as square root of 3 into L whole divided by 3 can be written as square root of 3 into square root of 3. How do you write this as square root of 3 into 3? I will show you that. So how do we write 3 as square root of 3 into square root of 3? That is because square root of 3 is square root of 3 the whole square, which is nothing but 3 whole square to the power of root. Square root can be written as half. This gets cancelled, so you end up with 3 only. So therefore, always remember, whole number can be written as square root multiplied by square root of the same number. So this root and square root gets cancelled. So what is LO? It is L divided by root 3. So this is the distance we wanted. We found out. Similarly, what will be the distance from B? It will also be L by root 3. Similarly, you had C. So what will be this distance? This will also be L by root 3. So that is the major part we figured out. AO, BO and CO is L divided by root 3. Now what is the next important point? Use Coulomb's law, apply the formula, figure it out. Let's do it. Okay, now that we have erased everything, I will write it again. So this was your triangle. We will not write any extra information that we needed. We'll just use the information we need to calculate. So this is Q at A and this is at B and Q at C. They're all equal in magnitude. So these are the perpendicular bisectors. This is your centroid where your charge Q is kept, right? So the force of repulsion due to A, so I will call it as FA. Force of repulsion due to C, I will call it as FC. Force of repulsion due to B, I will call it as FB. Now here you have to use the triangle law of vector addition to figure out F net due to C and B, and then they're equal in opposite, they do cancel, but we figured out that all the forces are equal. So FA is equal to FB is equal to FC. They are all equal because why? Q is same, right? QA, QB, QC, they are all equal in magnitude. So they will all put same amount of repulsion on the charge Q. It experiences same amount of repulsion. It is as good as saying you're standing right here at this point and then there are 3 people pulling you with ropes at equal distances, which is, what was this distance found out to be? It was 1 by root 3L, I guess. Yeah, we found this distance to be 1 by root 3L, all this distance, 1 by root 3L. And this is also 1 by root 3L, right? So this distance, they're all standing at equal distances, equal strength, they're all pulling you in all these 3 directions. Do you feel any force? You don't, because one force, one force is cancelling the other force because one is pulling in the opposite direction as the other. And they're all pulling equally. So obviously you won't move anywhere, you won't feel any force at all because none of them are pulling with a greater force. They're all equal and they're cancelling each other on their own. It is as simple as that. That's the logic, right? Now let's first calculate FA. So all of them will be equal. You need not calculate FA, FB, FC, but if you want, you can do that. So there's no need even from the examination point of view. So what's the formula? It is QA into, you can just call it as Q. What is the value of QA? QA is Q. Q into where, what is the charge? Charge on this, which is at the center, divided by R square. What was R square? R square is the distance from this to the charge, which is 1 by root 3L. So 1 divided by root 3L, that is L divided by root 3, the whole square. So this is nothing but K into Q whole divided by 1. This will be square root of 3. This gets reversed, whole square divided by L square. So square root of 3, the whole square will be, I already taught you, but then I will teach you again, because there will be many students who don't really understand how this is done. Square root can be written as 1 by 2. So that gets cancelled. This will be L square. So what will be your final answer? FA also equal to FB equal to FC. All of them are going to be equal to K into Q. That will be 3, right? So let's write it as 3Q divided by L square. So this is going to be the force. Whereas FA, the resultant of FA and FB can be found out using parallelogram law of vector addition. And so F net due to A and B will be FB plus FC. Okay. Now that is equal and opposite to FA. Equal and opposite to the net force. So these two cancel each other, hence the net force acting on the system is 0. You have to just write one sentence. You need not calculate anything. That is more than enough. That tells the examiner that you have conceptually understood. These numericals can easily come, or in your entrance examinations, these are very crucial. It is essential that you think in the right direction and answer in the right direction. I hope you understand. So there is another textbook numerical that I find really interesting. This is very conceptual, and this will allow you to, in fact, use the parallelogram law of vector addition as well, because we are going to find the resultant force. So let's see what is given. Consider the charges plus Q and minus Q placed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle. So the triangle is equilateral, which means it has angles, equal angles, and each angle is equal to 60 degrees. The length is also equal. What is the force on each charge? So first of all, to understand this, let's write the diagram. So I am assuming C to be here and A and B to be the base. So we are keeping plus Q here. So let me write it here. So it is plus Q here, similarly plus Q here, right? And we are placing minus Q charge here. So all these angles is 60 degree, right? This is also 60, this is 60, and hence this is 60 as well, right? So all this length is L and L. We are assuming the length to be L. Now you have to find the force on each charge due to the other charge, right? We are finding the force on each charge due to the other charge. So let's first see what is the force experienced by the charge plus Q due to minus Q at the point C. So since this is plus and this is minus, the force on charge A due to C will be towards C, because it gets attracted towards C since they have opposite sides, right? Then what will be the force on charge A due to B? They both have the similar charge, so it will have a force of repulsion. It will experience a repulsive force, right? Now they're all of equal magnitude, plus Q minus Q, right? So lengths should be almost equal. So this is force on A due to C. This is force on A due to B. Now what will be the force on B, charge B due to A? Plus and plus both are positive charges. It will experience repulsion just like A did. So this is force on B due to the charge A. What will be the force on B due to charge C? It will be attracted towards C because it is positive and negative, unlike charges attract. So this is the force on B due to C. Now let's see what will be the force experienced by the charge C. Charge C has a negative charge, these two are positive, so very obviously it will feel a force of attraction from both the charges, right? Now how do you find the resultant force? How each you are supposed to calculate the force between force experienced by each charge. So force experienced by each charge can be found using the resultant law of parallelogram, law of vector addition. So complete a parallelogram and then draw a resultant, and this will be your FB net. This is the net force experienced by B. This will be your FA net. The charge, force experienced by the charge A, the net charge. Even here you have to complete the parallelogram. So therefore, this is the force experienced by C, that is the net force experienced by C due to A and B. So this, what is this? It is force experienced by C due to A. This is force experienced by C due to B. Okay. Now let's write the formula. What is the formula to find the resultant force? So first of all, force experienced by the charge A net is equal to, I will write the general formula first. So the general formula is net resultant force using parallelogram law of vector addition is given by square root of F1 square plus F2 square plus 2F1 F2 cos theta. So what is cos theta and what is F1 and F2? So in this case, if I am talking about these forces, so there are two charges, charge at B and charge at C. So the force, this, if I call this as F1, this becomes F2. So F1 and F2 and the angle between F1 and F2. So you have to find out this theta. Similarly here, if I have to find the charge force experienced by B, what will be F1 and F2? The force experienced due to C, the force experienced due to A. So this becomes your F1 and F2, and this becomes your angle theta, which is the angle between the two forces, right? Also in this case, what are the two forces? So FCA and FCB, force experienced due to the charge at the point A and force experienced due to the charge at B, which we are calling FC and FCB. In this case, it will be F1 and F2. And what is the angle between the charges? The angle between the forces is 60 degree. So let's first do it for A, B and then C. For A, you can see if this is 60 degree, we know this entire thing is 180 degree. So 180 degree minus 60 degree will be your theta, which is nothing but 120 degree. So this angle is 120 degree. Even this angle will also be 120 degree because this is a straight line. Straight line is 180. So 60 is already there inside. So the exterior angle will be 120. How do you get it? You subtract the interior angle. You get the, from 180, you get the answer as 120 degree. Now you should know what is cos of 120. These are values that you must learn and remember. You don't get it, you are not provided with scientific calculators. So it is essential that you learn it. If you do not know, then again you fail to answer the questions. So there are certain things in physics that you need to remember, and you should always know how to calculate. Okay. So F net A. So force on A, net force on A due to force on, now they are all equal. Now before I do that, FAB and FAC, are they equal? Yes, they are, because what the magnitude, they're all placed, they're all at a distance. Why are they equal? Let's come to that point. Can I write the force on A due to B is equal to force on A due to C? Yes, because what is the force on formula for force on A due to B? It will be Q into Q. The charge in at the point A, charge at the point B divided by the length, which is L square, is equal to K into, at the point C, due to C also, what is the charge at C? It is also Q. So it is Q into Q divided by the length L square. So they are equal. So instead of writing it as FAB, FAC and all of that, I can simply write it as F square plus F square plus 2 into F square cos 120. It is cos 120. So that will be square root of F square plus F square is 2F square. This is also 2F square, and cos 120 is minus 1 by 2. So therefore this will be square root of 2F square, 2 and 2 gets cancelled, minus F square which is nothing but square root of F square. So square and root gets cancelled. So what will be the net force on A? The net force on A will be simply F. Okay, so what will be the net force on B? B also you have the same angle 120 degree, and FBC, FBA, they are equal because all the charges have equal magnitude and equal distance of separation. So therefore, this is also equal to the net force experienced by the charge B. So what will be the net force experienced by the charge C? Will it be same? No, it won't be, because the angle between the two forces is not 120 degree here. Here the angle between the two forces is 60 degree. Let's calculate that. So force, net force experienced by the charge C will be F square plus F square plus 2F square into cos 60 degree. So how much is cos 60 degree? Cos 60 degree is half, not minus half, it is half. So this will be F square plus F square. F square plus F square can be directly written as 2F square like we did. 2F square plus 2F square into 1 by 2. So 2 and 2 get cancelled. So 2F square plus F square is square root of 3 F square. So therefore this can be written as root 3 into square and root gets cancelled. It is root 3 times F. So that is the net force on the charge C. It is slightly different compared to these two forces. They experience equal and they in fact get cancelled. They are same and are acting in different directions. So this is the net force. Now, so if you have to find out F, you can also write this as root 3. F is how much? F is K into Q square divided by L square. Here if you have to write, F is simply equal to K into Q square divided by L square. So this is a lovely problem to solve, a lovely thing to solve. It is there in your textbook. If you do not understand how to solve it, it's a solved numerical. You can always refer to the video and then you can enjoy solving it. If you have any questions, you can always ask. So please like, follow and subscribe to Calicut to know more. And we are going to take some more, previous exam paper numericals, board exam numericals on Coulomb's law before I start the theory again. Okay. So in the next session, I'll meet you again with some more problems on Coulomb's law. Till then, if you take care of Coulomb's law will take care of you. Thank you.